Hello, everybody. I'm Andrew.
I'm Avery.
I'm James.
And I'm Casey.
This is Chinwag with the Horsemen. We're very happy today to have Casey the Hammer back with us. He lives out of state from the rest of us, so it's a rare appearance from him. But we're tickled to death to have him on the podcast with us today. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the NWA. They had a show a couple weeks ago now, as of time of recording. That three of us watched. Casey, you didn't watch it, I expect. Is that right?
I did not.
Okay, that's okay. Casey's not as big a wrestling fan as the others of us are, although he is gradually thinking about getting into wrestling a little bit. So, but anyway, NWA Back for the Attack was the name of the show, and what we can do first is see what Avery thought overall, see what James thought overall. I'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll go down the card very quickly. So, Avery, what were your overall thoughts of NWA Into the Attack?
Well, my overviews of it was, was that it was just a not a good show. It was rushed. I think they had 6 matches. You paid $20 to watch it. Not a bad thing for 6 matches. It lasted 2 hours, which is, you got AEW's doing 2 hours. You got Raw, which is doing 3.5 or 28 hours. I don't know how long Raw's going now.
28 hours is correct.
TNA, I think, runs for 2 hours. Ring of Honor does 1. It's just for what you expected from a pay-per-view. It was not what I felt like was a good pay-per-view. And I mean, I went to the Crockett Cup and saw that in person and watched some of the people who wrestled that back for attack. Right? Back, whatever.
Yeah, Back for the Attack, yeah.
And they know how to do a good pay-per-view. And I know that some of it was probably because of COVID and all that stuff. I just don't think it was a good showing.
Okay. James, what do you think?
I agree with Avery. I mean, some of the stuff felt kind of rushed. There was definitely moments where if they had been able to probably rehearse the matches, walk through the matches a little bit more, would have went a little bit cleaner. There were definite signs of ring rust for all competitors and everybody involved. But of course, this was the first time that they had put on any kind of show, the NWA, since about April of 2020, because they were building towards the Crockett Cup, and then all of that just stopped immediately. So figured it would be rushed, figured there would be some bit of ring rust and everything, but overall I enjoyed the show. I'm glad the NWA is back. They had a lot of good spots in the matches and everything. A lot of new names out there trying to rebuild the roster and stuff. So it in my opinion was a good show, but could have used a little bit more finessing, so to speak. So
yeah, I agree a lot with what's been said. I'm a huge fan of the NWA. I think that y'all know that the NWA is got the history of pro wrestling there. I love the NWA, but this was something that was, not it was not up to the quality standard that they had set before the pandemic. I think that they were on the right track before the pandemic, things getting gradually bigger, to include the Crockett Cup, which was a fantastic show. My wife even said that I should have skipped work to go see it. So, and she's right. I should have. It was absolutely ridiculous not to. But yeah, and James, I think you hit the nail on the head with ring rust. I think that was true of the performers. I think it was true of the promotion. I think when you're not putting on shows frequently, I think sometimes you can easily run into the problem of needing to sort of get back into the swing of it. So I'm giving them a free pass though, because of COVID and because I do have such affection for the NWA. That one, all right, fine. We're back now though, so it's time to get back on track.
Well, talking about ring rust and gradually getting back into things, like I agree with you on that. When we go to talk about some of the matches, one of the matches that I would say was probably hands down one of the worst matches was the Thunder Rosa versus Carmella.
Yeah.
Because there was a part in that thing where Thunder Rosa puts her in an arm bar on the right arm and holds it for a couple minutes. Carmella breaks out of it and instantly went to the left arm to say, "Oh, my left arm's hurting." Clearly, it was the right arm, and I think it was supposed to go on the left arm because that was the tension. Because you hear one of the announcers goes, "Oh, that left arm must be bothering her from that arm bar," which was clearly on the right arm.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
that was probably, and I don't know how many professional matches Camilla's actually had, but that was probably 7 or 8 of her short wrestling career. That was the first one she's done, I think, for the NWA. I don't remember if she had a match,
Maybe a squash match.
on Power beforehand, but she's improving. That's pretty much it. And I don't know if it was Thunder Rosa forgot what arm to put the armbar on or what it was, but yeah, I agree with you. That's right there is what I was talking about. They were able to walk through the match, walk through the spots a little bit more, might have been able to have had a little bit more consistency there.
Well, see, I wouldn't have thought anything about it because you in the moment of the match you might forget which arm it was on because you're trying to keep tempo. The thing that really bothered me was, you got the announcer who clearly don't have to keep up with the hits, the moments in the matches. And, he could easily say, because I think in one of the things Thunder Rosa was walking on the left arm. He could have said, well, both shoulders are probably hurting her from the attack from Thunder Rosa. Not, that left arm must be hurting her. Because, that just kind of pulled me out of it and going, dude, I just watched the match. It was the right arm.
Yeah, I mean, again, James hit the nail on the head for me. Camille's still pretty green. One thing I will say, and I don't watch WWE anymore. I've watched one AEW match basically when Tully Blanchard wrestled. So, and the ones before leading on that show. But so I don't watch a whole lot of wrestling today. But the NWA is something I watch consistently. Their women's division is more hard hitting. A lot of times when women wrestle, you see kind of a hesitation about hitting the opponent, for example. That is not in Thunder Rosa. I can tell you that. Thunder Rosa does not hesitate. Camille's a little green, but I think Camille's getting there. I think Camille has a good spear, for example. I think her spear is one of the better spears in wrestling.
She played women's football.
Right, so she should have a good spear.
She played lingerie football.
That's women's football.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I think her spear's better than Edge's, if you want the truth. I've never liked Edge's spear. I mean,
Well, I think
is it better than...
If Edge could do a decent spear, I don't think his neck would have been injured. So.
You might be right about that.
I was saying that her spear's almost as good as Goldberg's.
Not yet. I think she's on the right track.
How about Bobby Lashley's?
So ranking spears, Goldberg's is going to be up at the top. Then probably Lashley's. Roman's has improved quite a bit.
I would say he's still probably 4.
Yeah, he's probably around 4. Camille's probably you could slide in there at 3. So
I'm trying to think of who else might have a good spear.
Rhino had the gore.
Rhino probably would be 2 for me.
Yeah, and then Lashley.
It's pretty hard hitting.
I don't remember the last time I saw Lashley's spear.
It has been a while.
Yeah, I mean
it was right back when he firstly came back to the company. He used it some, and then he now switched to.
I mean, look, absolutely the worst spear out there has to be the pounce. That was not really a spear. That was just, I'm going to run into you and kind of throw you.
I always think of the pounce as the Big Show's bus stop. You remember that move where it was literally the pounce, but for his big frame to get moving to do that move, you literally called it the bus stop.
Yeah, Ron Strowman's got a version of the pounce now where it's pretty much just like the Strowman Express, I think is what they call it. So,
Well, playing off of Avery talking about individual matches, Slice Boogie defeated Crimson, Jax Dane, and Jordan Clearwater.
That wasn't that good of a match.
It was
either.
fine. Jordan Clearwater is one to watch, though. He's a very talented guy. He's very early in his career, but he's a good wrestler.
That's the new guys I was talking about. They gave them a chance to shine. Clearwater had a good thing. Slice Boogie had some good spots in the match. So getting their names out there, introducing them, especially having them go up against Crimson and Jax Dane, who is probably one of the premier NWA tag teams of the last decade, probably was pretty good, and it was good to see Crimson and Dane have to not be in the tag format. I'd like to see them get into the tag team again.
They are a little bit on power. They're a little bit.
And I'm not saying it was a bad match. I mean, some of the points that I came in late on that match, but some of the moves I saw was real good. I saw, I guess it was Jax's and Crimson's tag finishing move.
Yeah, they did. They pulled that out. That's right. Yeah.
Which was cool. It was kind of, the ending was kind of lackluster for me. It was almost like the old WWE ones where they
felt a little rushed. Just like, we need to wrap it.
Where it was like one dude hits his finisher and gets up, and the other guy slides in the ring and shoves him out the thing.
Gets the win, yeah.
And then the guy never never figure out how to get back in the ring, and it was like that. I was like,
next up, singles match. Avery's favorite wrestler of all time, Tyrus, defeated one half of the NWA World Tag Team Champions, J.R. Kratos.
Tyrus.
Yeah.
And he's rusty, but he's also probably packed on some pounds since the last time he wrestled, which was, I think it was in TNA.
Ring rust was definitely evident here to me on Tyrus.
He was not moving well.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was you got
Kratos.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was injured, so he wasn't moving well. So if I was rating this match, maybe a half star.
Half a star. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty low for two big guys that went out there to put on a show.
Yeah, I mean, you don't expect Kratos and Tyrus to deliver a cruiserweight, classic style match.
And it's not that it's not, okay, let me retract that. It's not a half star because of what they did in the match. It was, they build it to be pretty much like a heavyweight boxing match. You got Tyrus, 300 plus pounder, probably more.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't 400.
Yeah, I don't remember what they weighed him in as when he came out. Then they was like, you got Kratos at 300 plus pounds. They build it as a hard hitting fight, and then you
get again a little bit more rehearsal time, a little bit more
stretching,
walking through. Yeah, probably stretching would have helped out there. I mean, yeah, it was an injured guy, a big injured guy, and a injured dude who hadn't been in the ring in a while. So it was a very slow paced match. But yet again, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, again, COVID. It just was not how they build it and how they put it out. It's calling your product one thing and delivering something else. That's my problem with it. Which I understand that they wanted to do a show because they just lost the question mark, and they wanted to do a tribute to him, kind of deal. So it just.
Speaking of the question mark, I'm going to skip several matches, not because they were anything bad. I love Elijah Burke, but we're going to skip the television title match unless someone has anything specific to say.
Time limit draw. They should have actually had finished there.
You think so? I love a time limit draw in wrestling.
I think with those two competitors that were in it, it shouldn't have gone to a time limit draw.
Yeah.
They should have been a clear winner or some continuation of that, because
Because like,
Once it was over, it's on to another feud. So
because they extended it for that one, right? To 10 minutes?
yeah, they made it 10:05 instead of 6:05. So and that's the new rule going forward.
Yeah. No, one thing to note about that is the 10 defenses get you a world title shot. That's still in effect, so that's important to note.
But see, that counts for Elijah Buck.
Yeah.
He never lost.
Yeah,
And
that
see,
counts as a defense.
If you're gonna do a pay-per-view, you gotta have a clear winner.
Well, I think it would have been more egregious if they had time to actually build the match up, because it was basically just a one-off match, right? They've not had a power show before this in a long time, so there was no build up to any of these, and I think the card suffered because of that.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. A tie is just like putting lipstick on a pig. if I could buy one of J.R. Ross's catchphrases.
We talked about Camille and Thunder Rosa already. Trevor Murdoch retained the national title against Chris Masters or Chris Adonis, which of course now he's lost it as of recording. But anything there? I love Trevor Murdoch is what I'll say.
That was actually a good match.
That was pretty good.
It was a good match for two guys that hadn't been in the ring for a while. They actually like build off of each other. It was a good match in my opinion. The close of the show was a lot more technically sound than the start.
Yeah, I agree. It was a very top heavy card.
Speaking of it, who did he lose it to?
Chris Adonis. On power.
I kind of felt that they was probably heading that way in that match. I don't think they really wanted to drop it there.
No, they've got Trevor Murdoch now building towards a match with Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold.
Well, but see, if you notice in that pay-per-view, it was nobody lost their belts. It all stayed the same, and that's what you kind of that you think of that as a go-home show kind of deal.
Yeah, but a first show back after COVID, that does make sense.
Well, I don't know, unless you wanted to hit somebody with a thing.
So the main event was obviously very emotional for I think everybody at the NWA, and it was the World Championship match. Nick Aldis defending against Aaron Stevens. To me, this was the match of Aaron Stevens' career. I think this was match of the night. I think it was the best match maybe I've ever seen him wrestle.
I agree with you. It was the best match I've seen him do in a long time. I mean, started out watching him in WWE playing the stunt double for The Miz and just being like a comedic relief his entire time. He actually like put forth a lot of good effort, showed a lot of good like athletic ability in that match. And like you said, it was the best match I've ever seen Aaron Stevens put on and go forth. He truly seemed like a good challenger coming back, first pay-per-view back, needs somebody to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. And it was a good match.
I agree. Hey, Barry?
Well, I'm sorry to cut James short about watching him in the WWE as Miz stunt double. I think he was a better Miz than Miz. But see, when he started in WWE, they tried to capture the frame of the Scholar with him, which, the Scholar failed anyway, and then he failed as being that way too. But overall, it wasn't I would probably rank it as the third best fight I've seen Nick Aldis in. I mean, that's counting the Cody Rhodes fights. And I'm counting against Crockett Cup.
Marty Scurll.
Thank you. Because I haven't watched much NWA, so I haven't seen many fights with him. But I would say it would probably be the third in the rank.
That's fair for Aldis. Now you said, I love what you said where you said Aaron Stevens was a better Miz than the Miz. He did so well with that, and I don't think any of us are saying that wasn't a problem with his performance. It was a problem with bad booking. It's just true, I think, of most WWE kind of stuff. Is that the booking is always bad, but the best performers can make that.
Well, I mean, I think you could tell him to go roll around a mud pit with somebody. He probably would make it A, enjoyable, B, funny to watch, or C, as a great match.
I agree, and I think this really showed that here, is that they were able to showcase his abilities more than perhaps ever before. So I really enjoyed that. And the show overall, you know, I wouldn't give it 5 stars or anything, but like I said, I'm giving them a free pass. First show back. We'll see going forward.
I would probably say for first show back, probably 3.
Okay, that's fair.
And like I could go down if I'm gonna nitpick, but just knocking off some ring rust, knocking off some announcer rust would probably help that, because I don't think the announcers was really in it as like calling some of the stuff. Now the guy who was doing the announcing for them to come out to the ring, he was top notch. But I don't know. It just was.
James, final star rating on Back for the Attack?
I wouldn't give it a 5-star. 3, pretty good, middle of the road for first match back. That would be probably where I'd be at.
Casey, what about you? What's your out of 5 stars? And I know you didn't watch the show, but out of 5 stars, what's your rating for NWA Back for the Attack?
I'm going to have to say 3.5.
Wow, going up. I love it. Going a little higher. Casey's joining us by Zoom, so it's we're very happy to have all 4 of us actually doing this. It started out as a way for all 4 of us to talk regularly, you know, and frequently. So it's cool to have Casey actually in on an episode. Welcome back, Killer.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So next up on the docket here, Mortal Kombat, the reboot was released yesterday, I believe, as of time of recording. So I had the opportunity to watch it, but none of the other Horsemen have. So we're going to talk just a little bit about it in a non-spoilery kind of way. And then we're going to move on to discussing sort of movie fights and our favorite fights, because Mortal Kombat is obviously all about them fights. So I'll say, you know, Mortal Kombat was fine. it was fine. I think they shortened some of the fights too much, but otherwise it was fine. You know, that's my Mortal Kombat review.
Okay. Does this Mortal Kombat live up to or surpass Mortal Kombat from the 90s?
Gosh, that's a hard question, because in some ways it does much better. In some ways, the reboot does some things that don't make sense to me, and you know, we can talk about that more after everybody's had the chance to watch it. But it does some things that just don't make sense, where the 90s Mortal Kombat did a little bit better.
Okay, so I've got a couple questions for you.
All right.
So does it have the original theme song in it, or Scorpion's thing, Get Over Here?
Yes, to both.
Oh, excellent. So it's got the original, like, arcade sounding, upbeat techno.
No.
It's basically a reworked version of that. But yes, it's there. You can tell it. You'll know it when you hear it.
Okay, excellent.
It's in the. If you haven't heard it, it's in the trailers. You can
I mean,
hear it.
I saw it in the trailers, or listened to it in the trailers, but I wanted to make sure that they carried it on through and they weren't just like, we're giving you a little bit of nostalgia here in the trailers and then, whoop, rug pull, it's not really over here in the movie.
You'll know it when you hear it in the movie.
I'm just gonna say this: Scorpion gets the get over here out real fast, even back before he became Scorpion in the trailers. So I'm hoping if they don't have it in the movie, then God, they lost out.
Okay, so here's some questions that I have. Like, are there classic characters in there? I mean, I know there's classic characters in there. There's Sonya, there's Kano, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion. I know they're not doing Johnny Cage. I read that.
Raiden's in there.
Raiden's in there. Liu Kang's in there. Kung Lao's in there. I know Shang Tsung is there. Is Smoke there? There is a questionable thing in the trailer where there is a black and gray ninja like Smoke coming out of like a smoke effect for a quick split second in the trailer.
Smoke is not in it. The smoke effect that you're talking about is, and I'll just tell you, it's basically how Shang Tsung teleports people around, is out of a smoke effect. So a lot of people come out of a smoke effect that it doesn't make sense.
All right. Other, like, when you think Mortal Kombat characters that have to be there, is Reptile there?
Yes and no.
Okay. Don't elaborate if it's.
I won't.
gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
way
Yes and
spoilers.
no.
What about? Do they reference stuff like the Lin Kuei initiative, where they're becoming cyborgs?
No, they don't. Well, they don't go that far.
But they talk similar towards it.
There's stuff in there.
So as we are talking about this, about classic characters in the movie, I just Googled the character list from the first game. Okay?
Okay.
Which I think all of these are in there, but one. Johnny Cage, Kano, Liu Kang, Raiden, Scorpion, Sonya Blade, and Sub-Zero. Right?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure everybody except one is in there.
Is Shao Kahn the big bad?
No.
Do they travel to an island for the tournament, or is it just?
We're getting to the point now where if I answer some of these questions, it's hard to answer them without.
spoil
Yeah,
it.
so
Okay.
you know.
All right, we're good there. So
Wait. I just pulled up list 2 from Mortal Kombat 2. And I just want to run a couple more names by to see if
Jax is on there.
I'll tell you this as well. There was a character from Mortal Kombat, and don't ask me who. Let's not go into it. But there was a character from Mortal Kombat 1 that wasn't on your list, but is in the movie.
Goro.
There was a character from Mortal Kombat
that was
1.
just playable characters.
Oh,
which Shang Tsung
Was not
Yeah.
a playable
was
character.
not playable
Right.
character.
He was.
you're right. He was playable in 2.
Yeah, he's playable too.
So now I've got list 2 open.
So in 2, there's Jax, Baraka.
Baraka,
That's where
Kat-
Kung Lao comes in.
Katana,
Katana, Melina,
Reptile,
Reptile, Raiden,
Samsung,
Shang Tsung.
Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, and
Kano.
Kang Lao.
Kung Lao,
Kung
yeah.
Lao, thank you. Goodness. And no, Kano was not.
Oh, Kano was not in the second.
Not playable in 2. He came
They
back
brought
in
him back in 3.
3, I think,
And,
or
yeah,
Ultimate 3.
Mortal Kombat
I got the
Ultimate
list.
3 was like such a long game. I remember borrowing, I think it was Casey's MK3 Ultimate for the Super Nintendo to play it.
Here you go.
Hey Barry, no weird noises from the side, hey Barry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because I just pulled up 3. 3, they became a little bit more ballsy in the character run. Because they added, golly. So you had Shao Kahn made his appearance in 3. Yeah, he wasn't in 2, was he?
He was in 2.
He was in 2.
Was he
as
the big bad
He was the
as big
final
bad.
boss,
he was
yeah.
the final
With
boss.
Mintaro as number 2.
That's right.
Mintaro's in this one, in 3. But you
Yeah.
got Smoke. You got all the original ones. You got Striker. You got Shiva. Everybody other favorite full-on person.
Shiva.
Kintaro?
Well, Kintaro is always good. Sector,
Cyrex.
Cyrex, Cabal, and then you have Nightwolf.
There's some interesting stuff. So there's a lot of Easter eggs too that you'll see.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy finding
And
these Easter eggs.
there's a lot. There's at least one I saw that I was like, oh, well, that's such and such. You know, I knew it immediately. But there was probably tons more that I just was not as aware of. Casey, didn't you have a book of like Mortal Kombat lore at one point?
I don't think so. I had one that had like all the fatalities in for Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Did we have an Easter egg for the Easter ball?
So for the fans out there that don't know what we're talking about, there used to be these things called like guidebooks that helped you through how to play the game
Before the internet.
Before the internet. So
Casey, did you get your questions answered? Were those your 2?
Well, maybe one more. So I must have tried. Is Shang Tsung, is he an old dude in this movie?
Ah, that's an excellent question. No, he's played by the guy you remember the Chinese guy in The Dark Knight that was helping the mob hide all their money?
Yes.
That's Shang Tsung.
Oh, okay.
But he's great. He Him and Kano are my favorite parts of the movie.
Nice. Kano, I always thought he was kind of lame a little bit. I don't know.
I think you'll enjoy him in this. He's funny. He's still lame, but he's funny. He's like Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad.
So trivia, just for everybody to know, that Kano in the original Mortal Kombat 1 and all, was not supposed to be a Aussie. Like his accent was not Aussie. The guy who played him in Mortal Kombat 1, the movie, was a Aussie actor, and Boone liked him so much. That's why Kano is now like an Aussie creep.
So he's Australian because of his accent in the first movie?
Well, because of the actor.
in the first couple of games, they didn't.
Well, they didn't talk,
scenes
yeah.
of talking or anything like that.
But that's why he's Australian, is because they liked him in the movie?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They liked the guy who
That makes
played
pretty
him, and
good
they're like, he's going to be Aussie.
That's awesome.
Ed Boone's kind of crazy, but I enjoy his video games and everything. Have you guys played any of the recent Mortal Kombat stuff outside of when we were pretending to work out at the gym and we would just sit there and play Mortal Kombat 9?
Yeah, no, I've not played Mortal Kombat. I was just thinking while we were talking, while Avery was going over the character list on these games, I wonder if there's a bundle I can get on Xbox Live that has all of these games, because I'm going to look when I get home.
I tell you, I did not know this, because when I got out and played Mortal Kombat, because a fighting game is all right up to a point that you got. I'm bored of killing this one guy with the same fatality. And so when we got back into it, you got all these new characters, or you thought was new, like Chinook, right?
Yeah, Chinook was one.
Chinook.
Yeah.
But as I was looking at the list, he was in like Mortal Kombat 4 with 4G.
4 was terrible.
And
4 was their first like 3-dimensional. It was like Virtua Fighter.
Yeah.
It was their first thing. It was awful.
And I was like, what? Really? And like as I think back now, because I'm pretty sure we all played that version. I was like, I could remember us playing him one time and being like, oh, he sucks.
James, you remember when I was at a certain college for a little while and I had to drop out because I spent too much time playing video games at your house
Yes, I remember that.
instead of going to class? What was the game we went and played?
Yeah,
Shaolin Monks.
One day, me and Andrew, while he was skipping school, went to GameStop and played a demo for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. If you don't know what this game is, you play as Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and it's like a story adventure. And we played as much of it as we could, standing there in the store, to the point where the guy who was working the store, now this is like 9:30 in the morning on like a Tuesday, he acted like it was the busiest time of his life, came over to us and was like, look, if you keep playing it, I'm going to charge you for it. And I was like, fine, I'll buy it. We bought it, went to my house, replayed the like 3 hours that we had played at the store, and that was pretty much all we would do. Andrew would show up in the mornings, completely skip class, we would go get breakfast, and then we would play Shaolin Monks.
I literally remember one day, because I was still in high school when they was doing this, I got dropped off, walked in my house, and set Andrew and James playing Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monk. And Andrew looks at his watch and goes, golly, it's 3. I gotta go home because I need to take a shower and get ready for work.
Yes.
And I was like, how long have you been here?
Since about 9 o'clock that morning.
And literally they both looked and went, when do you get home? And I was like, guys, it's after 3.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing that for those, if anybody ever listens to this who is a college student. Just go to class, dude. Don't mess it up like that. Although it turned out for the best. We had a great time later in college when we all had to go, longer than maybe we anticipated, but we had a great time. Except Avery. Avery's the only one who had any kind of normal graduation experience, I feel like.
I think Avery finished college in like 4 years.
No,
we were
no,
all on
mine
the
lasted
doctor
6.
track to get the undergrad, so.
Mine lasted 6 because I went through the cheap school, through the adult program at the college, So it took me a little bit long.
Right.
Well,
Okay, so we were all on the doctor path, but for the undergrad.
Yeah, I don't.
Everybody out there, don't follow us, okay?
Really don't.
Speaking of Mortal Kombat and what it's famous for, the fight scenes and everything, what are some of your, like, if I say name a fight scene, what comes to mind? Movie, TV, whatever. What do you got? Casey?
Alright, so I've got a semi-controversial one here.
Uh-oh.
So, Star Wars Episode 1.
Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, that is. Because the guy.
It's pretty good. I don't know. You remember getting chopped in half?
Yeah, I remember him getting chopped in half, but I also remember him standing there and having the one lightsaber blade come out, and then the second lightsaber blade comes out. That was the, like, most bad A thing that we could have happen.
That was crazy.
It was awesome.
The first dual lightsaber, I guess, huh?
That's the first one we'd ever seen, because up until that point we'd seen,
Just
once. Episode 4, 5, and 6, and that was it.
So for me, when I think fight scenes, and I'm gonna steal one that A-Berry had mentioned because it's so good, the hallway fight from Daredevil season 1 from Netflix, when he goes to save the kidnapped little boy, I think it is. Yeah, he goes. So he gets there, he finds where they're at, and it's a single shot on this hallway, and you don't see a lot of the actual. I mean, you see, you see plenty of it, but not like Episode 1, not like Star Wars. It's like, some stuff he's in other rooms, but it's this awesome fight. It's great. That Daredevil show is fantastic.
Just to add in a little bit of a good nugget, Marvel is actually going to try to bring back Daredevil, reboot the Punisher somewhat, hopefully in the near future.
Well, they kind of have to, take some of the violence out of the Punisher, because Netflix was like, hey, we've got the rights to Marvel's Punisher. We're going to do some really good, fight scenes, death scenes, and that kind of stuff. One of my favorite fight scenes is season 2 of Daredevil, when the Punisher is in prison and murders half of the guards, half of the cell block he is in, just to get the Wilson Fisk.
It's great.
That right there is one of the best fight scenes that I've seen. What do you have, Casey?
I was just saying that was a really awesome fight scene.
So, what's your fight scene, Avery?
Well, I think out of our group here, I'm probably the one that has seen some of the randomest movies, because I just find something, I just watch it because it catches my interest. But if we're gonna talk about one of the funnest ones that most people will probably say is dumb and it's probably not a good fight scene, but from Teenage Mutant Ninjas Turtles, the first one, the fight scene in April's antique house and stuff is a great one, because you get Raphael on the roof while Casey's walking, because they do it from Casey's point of view, some of it.
Not Casey on the podcast.
No,
we should
Casey
point that
Jones.
out. Casey Jones, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character.
He's watching all the ninjas trying to sneak up on Raphael, and Raphael has taken out probably 30 ninjas, and they end up just overwhelming him by the numbers, throwing him into the house with April and them, jumping down to then fight the other ones. And it's really the first defeat for the Ninja Turtles. And that, I always thought that was a fun one to watch, because it just had back and forth, and because you had these giant ninjas trying to protect their brother and try to protect a civilian that they have in the room with them.
Yeah, I agree.
That one was always a fun one to watch.
It's a good one for sure. I think I want to say, and this is not going to be one of the best ones that we talk about, but one of my favorite bad movies is Street Fighter. with Raul Julia as Bison and as Jean-Claude Van Damme with as Guile, Colonel Guile. It's fantastic, and their fight I thought was really great. I think a lot of those fights are great when Zangief and Honda are fighting and they do the Godzilla sounds. I think that's great. Did we talk about Kong versus Godzilla?
No.
Casey, have you seen Kong versus Godzilla?
I actually have.
James, have you seen Kong versus Godzilla?
Of course, I've seen Kong versus Godzilla.
Well, we've got some time. We're running a little bit short, but in just a few minutes we'll talk about Kong versus Godzilla. So, Casey, what did you think about Kong? Hang on just a minute. Go ahead, Barry.
If we're going to talk about a good fight scene from giant creature, Kong versus Godzilla in, I think it's Tokyo, right?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
No, Singapore?
It's Singapore. It's Hong Kong area. I think it's Hong Kong.
I think it's yes, it's Hong Kong. Yeah.
We've seen this movie.
we have, but we just don't know the places. Now that is a great fight scene.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean that movie and Pacific Rim, the first one, made it seem like everything was that they was larger than life. But they was all computer animated, so making you feel like if you was there, there'd be a 400-foot tall monster.
Yeah. So, Casey, what's your thoughts, Kong versus Godzilla?
So, I've actually not seen any of the other movies, so they all apparently tie in together, right? Godzilla and
Yeah. So the first one is Godzilla, which they rebooted in 2014. Then there is Kong Skull Island, which hands down is probably one of my favorite movies out of the four. Then there's Godzilla King of Monsters, and then Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay. You see, I've not seen any of those, but I thought this one was really actually makes me want to get my but the fight scenes are pretty good. I don't know, it was a good movie. It was entertaining.
So I liked how they all wrapped together. I'm going to possibly spoil a little bit of stuff for you, Casey, from Godzilla King of Monsters, but they take Monster Zero's head at the end of the movie when Godzilla finishes him off. They take his head, and that's what they use to power up and run Mechagodzilla. That's the skeleton thing that the guy's in, who's got his little trance thing going.
Well, that's not really a spoiler.
Yeah.
In the sense you see that in like Casey would knew that Monster Zero dies because they're using the skull of that thing.
Well, not necessarily, because Monster Zero's like the Hydra. His heads regenerate, because there is a scene in Godzilla King of Monsters where the head gets cut off, a new head sprouts.
Yeah, but wasn't that over water?
No. Godzilla, I think, eats the head. So.
Oh, well, so.
Well, I thought it was great. I don't think the acting, if you're looking for a Shakespearean movie, it is not Godzilla versus Kong, but, it was very entertaining. Well, I'm saying, the acting wasn't fantastic. I don't think you need to constantly have characters from previous movies crossover, because the stars of these movies are not the humans, they're the monsters, right? So why do we need Millie Bobby Brown back? Why do we need, I would just be fine with a new cast each time.
You need some kind of consistency, because they had a big jump from the first Godzilla to Godzilla King of Monsters. 5 years goes by, and I can understand you're not going to follow Ford and his family around after the events, and they're not hopefully going to be having any more interaction with Godzilla. But with the time frame from when Godzilla King of Monsters takes place to when Godzilla versus Kong, I think it's 3 years is what they
something like that.
What they reference. So it's understandable to have those characters from King of Monsters be in Kong. I agree that they didn't need to focus on them as much as they did, but you've got to have some kind of little side story to propel everything along a little bit.
Sure, I see why you can have them. I don't know that they necessarily needed to. I think Monarch, the organization Monarch, provides that. You know, you can always introduce new people with Monarch. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and they do introduce new people with
Right.
Monarch. They introduce the scientist who is with Kong on Skull Island. They introduce the guy that played Tarzan in as like a former Monarch employee. But you need a little bit of, I guess, kind of consistency is what they needed. Now, if they produce another Godzilla, they produce another King Kong, which is kind of up in the air if they actually are going to or not. I would hope that they would move on to some different people.
Yeah, I mean, I can see using them, but I would have been just fine without them.
Well, I just want to point out, I'm thinking right that Millie was the young girl, right?
Correct.
Yeah, 11 from Stranger Things.
Well, you need her in Kong and Godzilla versus King Kong because truly she was the human protagonist in Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Her mom is the reason why all the monsters were released in the first place.
Yes, but she was the one that helped Godzilla kill or lure that one there so Godzilla could kill it.
Not really. The scientist from the first Godzilla, he is what helped Godzilla kill Monster Zero because he sacrificed himself in a big nuke to restart Godzilla so Godzilla could be supercharged to fight.
But what I'm pointing out is her being inquisitive about, well, yes, we should, this ain't good, this is bad, we need to, you kind of gotta have it because her dad is, I think, one of the top agents in Monarch now.
Now, yes.
Which he, so like, yes, her being inquisitive to be like, whoa, Godzilla's not the evil one. It's the robot thing. Which I was kind of unhappy with the robot thing because I kind of had flashbacks to Jason's Megazord in
from Power Rangers?
Power Rangers. I'm just
the robot thing is Mecha Godzilla.
thanks.
That's the proper name.
But hold on, before we go to Andrew, the acting in Godzilla and stuff has fully improved from the old Godzilla, where
That's because translation was terrible from those. All right, we're not gonna talk about how bad that is.
they was.
So.
I'm just saying.
My preference would have been in King of the Monsters for Millie Bobby Brown to die in the nuclear explosion and to have that Japanese scientist be the character that links them all. That would be my preference. But,
Yeah, that is what it is. So.
Next movie, Godzilla versus Ultraman.
Yeah, we're not gonna have a big giant spandex dude running around. I'm gonna pass on that movie.
Godzilla versus Batman.
Godzilla
Dawn
versus
of Monsters.
Batman.
Godzilla versus Pacific Rim.
Now that they might do. It's the same director, I think, or producer or something.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because the next one would be Godzilla versus a kind of mech, other than mech Godzilla.
The only other mech they did was, I think it's Monster Zero.
Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Yes, they did, because
So,
I used to have that action.
Mecha Ghidorah, so.
Well, we'll see. I mean, at this point, I still think they're still up in the air about kind of what they're going to do with that franchise. But we didn't get Casey in on a lot of this, but next episode, I think he's going to be with us again. So we will definitely we'll get more Casey then. But thank you so much for listening. Whoever's listening, we appreciate it. You can find more of us right here. This has been Chinwag with the Horsemen. I'm Andrew.
I'm Mayberry.
I'm James.
And I'm Casey.